Do you know what makes them so different?
Hello and welcome to my channel, and welcome to my kitchen. This is me, and today we're asking one of the hard questions, one I can't find on YouTube or Google. So I'll answer it myself.
So let's break it down. Both cakes and cupcakes use the same ingredients. What's different is the ratio, with cakes having a higher moisture content and cupcakes being higher in fat. This affects both baking time and texture. But is it true you can't swap them? To find out, we're going to start with a basic cake recipe, and a full list of ingredients are in the description. Add your butter and your eggs. For this recipe, all of your ingredients should be at room temperature or above. And we want to just give it a quick mix. Once they are both roughly combined, add your sugar, vanilla, and a pinch of salt. Any good cake should be fluffy, moist, and soft. And it all comes down to technique. Adding the sugar to the butter and eggs will help it dissolve, which will help it blend more thoroughly into the mix. Next, we're adding our flour, and because we're using self-raising flour today, we don't need baking powder. As you mix, don't forget to scrape the bottom of your bowl so you don't miss any of the ingredients. By adding the flour directly to the butter and eggs, it'll coat the flour, making it harder to form glutinous bonds. This is how we keep the cake fluffy. Mix and fold until all of the flour is combined. And the last ingredient is milk, but instead of leaving this out to get to room temperature, pop it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. Using a wooden spoon or spatula, stir it all together until it's blended. Then swap over to a whisk to make everything nice and smooth. This step is meant to take out any little lumps, while also adding extra air into the mixture. If the plan was to make cake today, we would pop this in a cake tin and add it to the oven at 150 degrees for 45 minutes. But we're not. We're going to do something a little bit more interesting and turn it into cupcakes. So that we can come back and compare the pair, we're going to separate a little bit out for later. And the rest is going into the fridge to cool down. While cakes like to be at room temperature when they go to the oven, cupcakes prefer to be cold. And we need to increase the fat ratio. Half a cup of butter and 1 more egg, both just under room temperature. Give them both a rough blend just to get things started, and then it's time for an electric mixer. For our cupcakes, we're going to aerate the extra butter and the eggs. It's easy to think of cupcakes as tiny cakes, and that's not necessarily right. The main difference in the two comes down to structure. Now that our cake mix has cooled down, it should be a lot thicker. That's what happens when the butter cools down. Good cupcake batter should be thick enough to hold its shape, while still being able to be poured. Add it to your electric mixer, and we're going to blend them together on high for about 15 to 20 seconds. What this does is simultaneously blend in the new ingredients while incorporating more air into the mix. Then it's back into the fridge for about an hour to bring all of the ingredients down to a good cool temperature. This will cause the butter to firm up as it cools, trapping all of that extra air. And when it's ready, it should look something like this. Soft and fluffy, but with a good amount of movement. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss when my cupcake recipe comes out. Time for a side-by-side comparison. While the cake mix is smooth and glossy, the cupcake mix is noticeably thicker and doesn't pour quite as smoothly. We'll add a few sprinkles just to make sure they don't get mixed up in the oven. And we're going to bake them for 20 minutes at 150 degrees. So what do you think? Tell me in the comment section what you think of making cupcakes with cake mix now that you've seen it in action. The cake mix rose higher in the middle, while the cupcake has a flatter top, which is ideal for decorating. They both had an even bake. They are both super spongy on the inside, but the cupcake is more of a yellowish color because of the extra egg and butter. As for texture, the cake mix is a lot more crumbly, while the cupcake is much fluffier on the inside.
So thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.